Men are paying fortunes to self-proclaimed relationship experts who may not even have credentials, because desperation makes even fake authority look like truth. Today, I'm diving headfirst into the Sadia Khan headline, but she's not the only destructive relationship guru. She's just the latest example of how they continue to pull men in over and over. And if we don't talk about the cycle, it's going to keep happening. I've talked before about how loneliness makes men vulnerable, how bad actors get caught in real time, and how the therapy world often misunderstands and even misrepresents men. This ties all of that together and shows you how to not get played again. In this deep dive, I'll break it all down in 3 parts. Why men fall for it in the first place, how visibility tricks us into thinking that popularity equals value, and how to spot the difference between fake and proof before you waste your trust and your very life. So, when men are desperate, they'll listen to just about anyone who sounds like they've got the right answers. When guys are hurt, lonely, confused about relationships, the moment that someone, especially a confident woman with a nice rack, starts acting as if she has the keys to women's souls, men latch on. Right now, men are living in a relationship economy that is broken to pieces. Marriage rates are in the cellar. Dating apps have turned women into a slot machine. Everywhere you look, cultural rules about masculinity and relationships shift depending on who's holding the microphone or sitting in front of a camera. One day, you're told to be vulnerable. The next, you're chastised for being a pushover. One moment, a woman says that she wants a man who can make decisions. And the next minute, she's telling you what to do with your time and money. So the truth is, a lot of men are drowning in that confusion. And that's when dating turns into desperation. When you no longer know who or what to believe, but you know that what you're doing just quite isn't working. It's like being lost in a desert, crawling toward a mirage. That's why bad actors like Sadia Khan or anyone else who delivers their services with a confident, polished vocabulary appears to be an authority figure. She sounds confident. She looks like she's got her shit together. And desperate and pragmatic men don't want to deal with ambiguity. They want answers. They want someone to tell them directly, this is how stuff works, and this is how you get the result that you want. So those bad actors, their certainty, even if it's shallow or fake, feels and looks like real authority to those desperate men. It's the same reason that conspiracy theories take off in times of crisis. People don't actually want to get evidence by themselves or for themselves. What they want is the comfort of a story that explains what's happening. So when you're looking for help, hearing somebody confidently tell you that they've got the answers is like that desert oasis. This is where the fantasy often trumps reality. Reality tells us that, of course, relationships are complicated, right? They're messy, they're full of contradictions. Meanwhile, a fantasy tells us that women are like this, men are like that, and here's the formula to bring it all together. But ultimately, it's the fantasy of seemingly grounded women like Sadia Khan and others that we'll get to in a moment, who often bring that illusion of control to make the connection between men's fantasy and pragmatation. And for men who feel lost or powerless in their dating life or relationships or after a breakup, that illusion is intoxicating. When men are desperate, they'll overlook the contradictions, the bad logic, or even the outright hypocrisy, because the fantasy feels better than facing the hard truth. You may need to rebuild yourself. You may need to face your own flaws, and even take time to change your approach. But the truth of the matter is that the Khans of the world cannot make those changes for men. They can't help everyone find a date or a relationship. In fact, I don't believe that they can help anyone more than marginally, if at all. Let me add another layer here. Men have been trained to treat women's approval as the final stamp of validation. So when a confident, pretty woman steps in and speaks with authority, it can feel very powerful. Not only is she confident, but she's also giving men exactly what they crave. Female attention packaged as wisdom for hundreds of dollars or pounds per hour. That's why you'll see guys quoting Sadia or other women like her as if they're prophets. But it's not that her insights are groundbreaking. It's that these men want to believe that a beautiful, confident woman has given them the rule book that they've been missing for so many years. As I've said before, way back in one of my earliest videos that very few of you have ever seen, being alone is not a weakness. That's where you build your strength. But too many men fear taking that time to be alone and to rebuild and to fix themselves. They're shamed into believing that loneliness is a curse instead of an opportunity, so they chase anyone who tells them what they want to hear. And it's that fear of shame and solitude that makes men even more vulnerable to women like Sadia Khan. If you're feeling desperate to find a woman, think of this analogy. When you're starving, you don't ask whether the food that's given to you is nutritious. You just grab the first thing that you can shove down your throat, and it doesn't matter if it's junk food, pulled from the bin, and full of empty calories. As long as it fills your belly, you'll take it. That's what desperation does to men's judgment, even in relationships. They stop asking if the advice is healthy, and they just consume it because it feels like it's going to help them and keep them alive. And that's why desperation is often the starting point of this whole cycle. Men don't stumble into these confident, pretty faces by accident. They go looking for answers when they're most vulnerable, which too frequently ends in exploitation. And the more desperate they are, the easier it is for anyone with a microphone to become their guru. But this is just the first step. Desperation might explain why men are listening, but we still need to discuss what men do about it and how to fix it. And that's coming up next.